Hello.
Hello, good morning. Yeah,
Very good morning. Okay, awesome. Rupinder, did you get chance to go through the video and the notes?
okay.
Rupinder?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, did you get chance to go through the video and the class notes? You missed 1 week, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
So did you get the chance to go through it?
yes, sir.
Okay, good. If you have any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, we'll continue.
No, sir, no.
No, good. Okay, so okay, let's continue. Any question from anyone? Pritam, Navneet?
As of now, it's clear. No, sir. We can.
Okay, so I think we are very close to completing our theoretical discussion,
Yes.
and we will start our practical stuff. So just give me a second. I'm going to share the notes that we've been doing so far. Hope everybody is able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
And recording did not start, is it? Oh, no, I think recording didn't start. Good. Okay, so we discussed about what database is, what RDBMS is, how is RDBMS different than, we did not discuss other databases, but how is RDBMS unique, right? We have rows and columns format. Then we discussed about installing MySQL. I hope everybody has installed it. If not today, but tomorrow for sure, we'll go to MySQL. So we'll talk about different components of database today so that you'll have more clarity on it. Okay. So we design a database. We design something called as Apna Mart database, where we have 4 tables: employees, locations, inventory, transactions. We discussed about employees table, location, inventory, and transaction. Okay, we created our ER diagram. Okay, we see that we have like 4 tables, but you have 2 relationship where it is many to many, bills to inventories and locations to inventories. So we'll have to break this into 1 to many and many to 1. So I think, yeah, this is what we created. So this is our business problem. Okay, and to implement it, okay, we have to modify it. So these are the actual tables that we will have to create in our database. Okay, so we will be talking about employees, bills, transactions, inventories, inventory locations, and locations. We'll see that when we start implementing. Okay, these are called attributes, right? The ovals, ellipses that you see, these are called as attributes. Attributes are nothing but your column names, column headers. Okay, so in ER diagram, these are called entity. Okay, relationship is this 1 to many. Okay, and this is critical. Okay, the whole RDBMS. Okay, the R stands for relational. Okay, so is all about how tables are linked to each other. Okay, and these are attributes. So entity, relationship, and attributes. These are the 3 keywords that you will have to remember in this. And attributes would become, so entity would become tables, and attribute would become columns of those tables. Okay, so every column. So here I've just put 1 or like 1, 2 kind of ellipses, but your diagram should represent all the column headers. Okay, so for example, if you go to employees here, so employees, as per our this one, as per our design, we have about 8, right? So it should have 8 attributes. Okay, it should have 8 ovals, and EMP IDs are primary key. Correct? So primary key, okay, we generally underline it. Okay. So if I go back to this ER diagram again, so let's say I put here EMP, it's not allowing me to write. Why? It says view only. Request edit. Just give me a second. I need to check which ID I have logged in. Okay. Still view only. False software. Okay, got it. This is the ID. I've got few Gmail IDs, so not sure which one. This one it will work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is okay. We were writing the attributes, right? Yeah. So I go here and I say EMP ID. And what we say is we underline it. Underline it. We can too small, isn't it? And yeah, this should be good. EMP ID underline. Underline indicates that it's a keyword. Okay, and this is how you design the database. Cool. Now we'll move ahead. Okay, we talk about data types in SQL. We'll talk about it, but before that, let's talk about installation. MySQL installation. Please install it. If you are not able to install it, I'll help you. Okay, because very soon we are going to start using MySQL. So it's better that if you install it, then we can you can practice along with along with me, right? So yeah, do that. So if you look at the database, there are different components of database. Okay. So first component is called database server. Okay. So database server is the place. Okay. It's a server, of course. It's a machine, right? It's a computer. Okay. It's a server where all the data will be stored. Right? So when I create a table has to be stored somewhere, right? So you need to have at least one server. Okay. So database server. Now database server can have multiple databases. Server is like one installation. Once you install MySQL, okay, it will create a server, and in that server, you can create multiple databases. Okay. So database server. This can have multiple databases. Okay. Now, databases will have multiple tables and other database components. Okay. Databases will have tables. Okay. Views. We'll talk about these. Triggers and other components. Okay. These three are important: tables, views, and triggers. We'll talk about these, but views and triggers we'll talk about once we are done discussing tables. So your database is the main installation where you will have multiple databases. Okay. Now it is difficult to connect Okay, you can connect. Okay, now it depends upon the implementation. Okay, MySQL, you can easily connect from one database to another database. Let's say you have some table that you need to connect. There are some tables in other database, and there's some tables. You can't have relationship between tables from different database. Okay. So if I have to draw, let's say, okay. So let's say if this is your server, okay. This is your server. Your server will have, okay. Let me use different shape. Look at this shape. Okay, so you have database server. Okay. Mm. I'll align it. Okay, that is. So you have database server. Okay. Now this will have databases. Okay. So database is independent. Okay. In terms of the data it has to have. Now, for example, table, it's not independent. For example, okay, the one that we created here, okay, employee is not independent. Employee is dependent on bills. Employees is dependent on location, right? So you cannot say that employees is an independent table because it is dependent on various other things. But database itself has to be self-sustaining. Okay. In rare cases only you will connect two databases. Okay. It is not suggested to link two databases, though it is installed on the same machine. Okay. Now, because if I take a backup, if I remove the database, let's say I want to move database from this server to another server, I can do that. We use something called as import and export. Export is when you export entire database. Okay, so if let's say if my local machine, okay, the laptop which I'm using is a database server, and I have a database here. Now let's say this database is growing big. Okay, I need to move it to some other server. So I will then export everything. When I export all the data, tables, triggers, views, everything will be exported in one flat file. Flat file is a text, file, basically, not a RDMA, not a database system. It will be a flat file. And that flat file, if I give it to you, then you will import into your database server. So you have to, let's say if I have to give you the database, okay, so I'll have my server, I have my database, I will export everything. I'll export database 2, let's say. I'll export database 2 to a file and I'll give you the file. You need to have database server installed already. Okay. So when you install database server, then you will do import into your database server. So once you import from that file, you will have a same database on your machine with all the information which I had. So database can be moved. Now, if one database is linked to another database, and if I move the database, then this data here on my machine, let's say database 1 and 2, I'm using both together. And if I give you the database 2 and I keep, I remove the database 2 from my machine, then that all the logic which I have written on two database will not work. Okay. So in rare cases only you will link to database. Otherwise you will not link to database. Everything should be in one database. Okay. So that you can easily move from one machine to another without any problem. You can move it to bigger machine, smaller machine, faster machine, whatever, right? So you do that. So database server is where your system will connect and it will have different database. You connect to a particular database and then get the data. Okay, so this is about database server. Then you need what is called as client, database client. Now, it's like this. you have your native place somewhere else, and let's say you are working somewhere else. Okay, your native place will only be one. So database is let's say one, or let's say you have your home. Okay, and in the daytime you have to go to multiple places. You have to go to railway station to drop someone. You have to go to grocery store to buy something. You have to go to office to work. But you do all those things, but you have to come back to your home only, right? So home is like your database server. But to connect to database server, you need some mechanism, some software. Okay, that software is client. Without client, you can't connect. So you assume client is like your transportation, means of transportation, let's say two-wheeler, right? So you will have only one server, only one home, but you'll be connecting to this from multiple locations. Multiple people will connect. Let's say if you have 7 people staying in that house, all the 7 people will be coming to the same house, right? So these are like client. So I have a server, okay, server has databases, has all the information, but I need to link to it. So the client is required. Client, okay. Now, database server could be on my machine. And let's say you want to log into my machine to get the information. Server will be only one. You cannot have multiple copies of database, right? You'll have only one server. Yes, we have mechanism of backups and things like that. That's a different thing. But you'll have only one main or primary database server. Okay. And let's say it is on my machine. It's in some, let's say, for example, Amazon, right? Now, Amazon will have its database stored somewhere else, okay, in some data center. Now, when we connect to Amazon website, we need to have client to connect to Amazon website. Otherwise, we will not be able to connect. So from client, you can connect from anywhere to the database server. Of course, if it is on internet, right? You need IP address to connect. You just need IP address and you can connect to the server if you have a client. So client, everyone who's going to connect to the server should have client. Okay. And server is only one. So server you'll have only one, but you'll have multiple clients running on multiple computer you can connect. Now let's say I'm working on 2 projects. Okay. One project is on server 1 located in US. I'm working second project, which is located in, let's say, Mumbai. Okay. So today I have to work on project 1. I'll have only one client. Okay. And when I'm talking about the server and client, same concept applies for whether it's SQL Server or Oracle or MySQL. It applies for all the databases, all the RDBMS, same concept. So I will have only one client. In the client, I will put the setting. Okay. Okay. I need 4 things to connect to a server. Okay. Using 4 parameters, I can connect to any server. Okay. What are the 4 parameters? I need IP address, first and foremost. Server name, what we call as. I need to have server name. Okay. That is the name of the, or basically IP address is good enough. Okay. Server name. Then I need username and password. Every database will have username and password. So when you create your MySQL database, there's something called as SA in MySQL. Okay, it varies. Okay, in I think SQL Server also has SA. Oracle has sysadmin. Okay, or just sys. Okay, so they are like super user, system administrator. That password that password can do anything to the database. Okay, so generally database admin will install SA. Create the database and save that information. Okay, they will not share system admin password with anybody. They'll create a user for you. You can create multiple users and it will give you password, system admin password or SA password. You cannot share with anybody if you are the owner of the database. Okay, they'll keep it safely. You will not get it. So that SA password you cannot forget. If you forget, then there is no way to recover it. Okay. Other password, password you can recover. But SA you cannot recover. So SA password you have to remember. Okay. So when you install MySQL, it will ask you to create a SA password. That is important. Okay. Just save that information. So client will need, as I said, server name, username and password. Okay. Either you use SA, rarely they'll give you SA, username, password. They'll create a username for you. Admin will create a username and password for you. Using that username, password, you need to connect. And 4th parameter is the database. Okay. So client can connect to any server and see, when I'm talking about server and client, they're specific to MySQL. Concept-wise, it is same. But using MySQL client, I can only connect to MySQL server. I can't connect to Oracle server. Using MySQL client, I can only connect to server. Okay. And also these companies, what they do, the server software will be paid one. Okay. To buy server, you have to pay money. Client, anybody can install it. Okay. They don't charge for client. So connect to any server using server name, which is your IP address, database name, user name, and password. So these four things, if I'm able to crack, I can connect to any companies. I can hack into any company's database. Okay. If I somehow come to know the username, password, IP address of a Google database, I can connect to Google database and get all the information. Of course, they'll have their own layers of security and IP, very specific stuff, but you can connect. Okay. So that is client. Client will help you to connect to any server. Okay, these two are important. Server, without server, you can't do anything. So server has to be there. Client to connect to server. Okay, then, okay, there will be some tools that every company will create. Okay, so like for MySQL, they call it as Workbench. Okay, Oracle has something else. SQL Server has something else. SQL Server is called Management Studio. Okay, Oracle has some other tool. So what it does is, okay, it's a UI. Now, if you have a client using command, you can log into server and you can work with it. So if you have a client, you need client first of all. Without client, you can't connect. And you don't need Workbench. In fact, when Oracle was first developed, we had to use commands only. The later Oracle developed UI to work with server. Okay, it becomes much easy, very, very easy to work with my Workbench. Otherwise, you have to remember all the commands. Okay. So compare it like client is like your command prompt. See, CMD where you have to put all the commands, right? If you want to copy a folder, you have to say copy folder name space folder to that. You have to remember the copy command. But Workbench like is Windows. You just go Control C, Control V, it's done. So Workbench is the tool. It's a UI tool using which we can connect and work with the server. Okay. So it still needs Workbench still needs client internally to connect, but it creates a UI structure which makes our life much easy. So these are three important stuff. Apart from that, they'll have examples databases. Okay, there are some all these companies. Okay, even SQL Server, MySQL, they created some sample databases. So we don't have to create our own database. Okay, if you want to learn crude application like select, okay, all those things, we don't have to create whatever we discussed so far. We have already created some databases you can go and work with. Like for example, in here you have world database. You can directly connect to world database and get all the information. You don't have to create our own database, but we will learn how to create and we will learn how to log into our own databases as well. Okay, so they'll have examples. Now these are four important aspects, but you need to have first three, right? You need to have server, client, and Workbench when you install your MySQL, right? So when database is created, okay, database server is installed, you install database server and you create database on it. Okay, so using Workbench, we can just right click and create new database. Okay, otherwise you'll have to write a command. Okay, so using Workbench, you will not have to remember any command. Okay, you create in UI and then it will generate the command. Ultimately, commands are run on the client. Only commands are run, but Workbench will create this UI so that you don't have to remember the command. We'll see both ways. We'll see how to write command and how to use Workbench to create tables or create databases. Okay. I think with this, with this, I think we can start with MySQL. Okay, and as and when we require, we'll come back to this PPT and we will update here. Okay. So, any questions so far? Everybody able to understand?
Yes, able to
Yes, sir.
understand.
Okay, I'm going slow because this is important, right? You have to practice also. Okay, so yeah, if you have any questions we don't understand, please stop me. Okay.
Sure.
Now I'm going to launch my SQL workbench because I've already installed it. So I will create, I'm going to click on MySQL. I'll see if I remember the password correctly or not. It's coming up. Why it's not getting launched? Hmm. Ah, I don't know. Is it some problem? Give me some. I want to show you at least what it looks like. I don't know why. It's not allowing you to modify also because it's already installed. Pritham, you can log off. Okay. Anyway, you're not going to do new. I just want to bring it up and show to others.
Okay, sir.
No, no, okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Guys, everybody has installed MySQL. If not, can you use this time to download and install? Meanwhile, I try to fix what's wrong with my this thing. Space. Guys, log off. Okay. You have your things installed. I'll have to fix it. It looks like I need to restart my computer.
Okay, ठीक है, okay, sir.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow, same time.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.